Hey, this is Caitlin Cook from FistShark Marketing. If you enjoy our improv podcast, please consider supporting us on Patreon. For less than the price of Duke Nukem Forever, you can help us pay Dr. Nightscream's copays. Just visit patreon.com/FistShark or click the Patreon button at fistshark.com for more details. Thanks for stopping by and enjoy the show.
I've been watching a tape that was sent to us. And I don't mean in the industry colloquial term, I mean an actual VHS cassette tape was sent to us in a brown envelope.
Well, I heard they're making a comeback.
Well, this was care of Christopher Lambert, who swears off pretty much any technology that was produced after 1992.
Yeah.
Well, wait, but you know he's, like, mostly blind, right?
I was not aware of that.
Yeah, like, he's visually can't see that well. I'd be concerned about any tape coming directly from him.
Well, let's not discriminate here, Conrad.
No, oh, fair enough. Maybe he has a better eye for this than I'm thinking. What's on the tape, Jim?
It's a pilot for a show that he wants to do. He wants to do a new television show called Christopher Lambert's Worm Time.
Christopher Lambert's Worm Time.
Yeah, the cover letter said that he would also be fine with Worm Time with Christopher Lambert. Or Chrissy Lamb's worming it up. But he said he would only entertain that one if the other ones weren't peppy enough. Because he knows how television networks like to jazz things up. To the hilt, he said. With very thinly masked bitterness. He doesn't like how exciting television is. He's told me that many times before. He says it's too busy for him, and the excitement upsets his stomach. But he said this is thrilling enough without being too thrilling, and I can confirm it's not too thrilling. Whether it's enough to satisfy a mainstream audience, I don't know. But with a show called Christopher Lambert's Worm Time, I cannot accuse it of lying to its audience about what it is.
Okay, Christopher Lambert's Worm Time. Is that WYRM or WORM?
It's WORM.
Oh, okay, all right.
So this is like an Animal Planet type of pitch here. You know, he goes out to Africa, discovers the different, maybe some life under the dirt type of situation, like the Steve Irwin of worms.
Yeah. It's very similar to that, except where you say wildlife documentary, I say Christopher Lambert laughing about an inch away from a camera lens. Where you say travels to Africa, I say does it in a hastily built shed. Where you say looks for life under the dirt, I mean plays with worms a lot.
Okay, so this is basically Christopher Lambert in his backyard garden digging up worms with his hands and laughing at a camera.
Have you seen it?
No, just based solely on that description. That's what.
Yeah, it's very similar to that. You didn't mention the Casio keyboard. I mean, I'll just give you a brief description of how the show opens. This is the opening gambit. This is how he believes that people will watch this and think, well, this is a show I'm going to have to tune in for every week. The camera sort of shuffles and clunks as he's clearly fiddling with it as he turns it on. Steps back about, as I say, 2 or 3 inches away from the camera lens. So it's mostly just a blurry shot of his mouth as he just goes, "Oh, Christopher Lambert, it's time for worms. It's time for worms." Scurries back. He's wearing khaki shorts and a Hawaiian shirt with the buttons undone and nothing on underneath. Hits a button on a Casio keyboard that's set up behind him, and it plays one of those demo tunes. just sort of like that. That's when he gets on his knees and just starts pawing at the ground, like digging and digging and digging. And that goes on for quite a while. And then he looks up at the camera and says, "It's not rained in 3 days." And then it hastily cuts back, and it's the same garden, but very like soaked, rain soaked, where he clearly realised this wasn't going to work and then waited for rain to happen. And it comes back, and then he's actually got some worms, and they're in his hands, and he's just holding them up to the camera going, "Worms! All of the time! So many of them!" And then the rest of the hour is him just rolling around, holding the worms up above him and dribbling them onto his face.
Hour?
Mm-hmm.
60 full minutes of this.
After that intro, yes. All told, it's about an hour and 20.
As amazing as this show sounds, I think there might be some issues with this being broadcasted on, national television. However, there might be a few, niche audiences. I mean, Adult Swim has their spots.
Yeah, but that's 10 minutes. Like, we're talking an hour and 20 minutes.
Well, with
and
commercials, we're looking at a 2-hour slot. He wants...
Right. And he wants a series out of this, or is this just a special?
He says that he'll play that by ear. He thinks if he can do a 2-hour special now, then maybe a series with a longer running time can happen.
A longer running time?
Oh, yeah! Yeah, he'd like this to go on for quite a while. I mean, he says in the letter, who knows, maybe make an evening of it. And then people can tell their girlfriends, would you like to come to my place and eat beef stroganoff and watch Christopher Lambert's Wormtime with me? And puts in brackets, a romantic evening for all the family. So he seems to think this has not only mass appeal, but could be used for date nights. He seems to get the impression that a young couple might start the evening with white wine and music and the intro to Christopher Lambert's Wormtime. And
then that's somehow going to progress into an intimacy of some kind?
He says that if they're not making sweet, young, nubile love by the time the credits are rolling, Wormtime will have failed as a concept.
I don't even think we need to get that far to know that this is a failure.
This is easily fixed. We could just focus group this. And the problem's gonna solve itself.
He said no focus groups. He was very explicit about that. I mean, we can try, but he seems to think that this is going to go in a scientifically measured way that he's already worked out. It's got timestamps of when they'll eat dinner, when they'll talk about their childhood, when they will do deep kissing, and then when they be banging, which is in the last 10 minutes of the show.
When they be banging.
Oh, yeah. When they be banging and when the pussy be stankin'.
And what is this? So this comes up as like a subtitle, like an instruction, like start dinner now?
No, he thinks that the show will be implicit enough that they'll just pick up on the signals. He says, like pheromones, but without smells, because you can't smell the television.
Well, then maybe this just isn't right for television broadcast. Maybe that's the wrong market for this.
Okay.
This sounds to me like a fantastic direct-to-video program that we can sell in adult boutiques as a marital aid.
I see.
You might be onto something there.
I mean, he had his heart set on AMC, but that's an interesting pitch. Do you think that a series of instructional videos will allow for the same kind of community activity that he believes will happen?
You mean you expect that people are going to be standing at the water cooler the next day saying, "Hey, did you watch Christopher Lambert's Wormtime last night? Oh, yes, well, my wife was just all over me by the credits, and I it was just an incredibly passionate evening of lovemaking." Like, that's what he expects?
Yeah, in part. He also believes that, he believes this will be the next Breaking Bad. that people will tune in. There'll be big series finales with cliffhangers. He mentioned something about like how excited he'll be to talk about the big bad he's got planned for season 2. I mean, he seems to think there's a running narrative, but every episode he described to me couldn't be summed up with an hour of Christopher Lambert playing with worms. But he has some other features he wants to do, like a letters section, where people send in letters to talk about their favourite worms, to talk about like their best bit of a worm, to talk about why the worm's reproductive system is more efficient than any other animals.
Right, because it's an asexual creature that can reproduce without the assistance of another. Yeah, right.
Well, he said just a worm looks like a dick.
So, gentlemen, I have a very exciting opportunity for us today. The world-acclaimed chef, Mario Vitali, has approached us.
Love him. Love his work on the Chew. Really, really talented guy. Mm-hmm. Very excited. You've got my juices flowing.
He is the top Italian chef in the world, arguably. I mean, he is an Iron Chef. Let's not forget that. And he has come to us with a special product that he wants us to market specifically for his line of Italian dishes.
I'm ready to greenlight it already.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about getting us further entrenched in the food market, and having a big name like Vitale is wonderful. Packaged goods, there's a lot of great margin there. What's the idea?
Mm-hmm. So he already has his high-end Italian cuisines lined up in the frozen section, of the grocery store. He has come to us with a new market for canned Italian goods.
Very, very good vertical. There's
economical.
A lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, there's a lot of opportunity there. There's a lot of competition in the space between your Franco-American and your Campbell's products. But there's always an opportunity for like a high, someone to distinguish themselves with a name and a little bit of class to get in there.
Plus, I mean, every day Russia is getting fresher and fresher, so the need for canned goods in the event of a post-apocalyptic fallout is just skyrocketing.
Exactly. So we have this market that I think is just ripe open. People are going to love it. Sadsghetti's.
Sadsghetti's. It doesn't. The name doesn't leap out at me right away as something that I want to buy. It doesn't seem positive. I mean, I think it's the word "sad" that prefaces the sketty.
Well, I mean, we can't confuse our brand here because the spaghetti, they are shaped like frowny faces.
So they are literally sad sketties.
Literally sad sketties, yes.
Wow.
Something we can't really part with on this one. Mario's very strong on it, but it has his name on it. It has his face, and he's smiling, on the label.
Okay, I mean we can work with that. So the packaging then is basically just going to be a big smiling Mario Vitali with, a bowl of the Sadsghetti's underneath and their frowning faces floating at the top with, maybe a spoonful coming out, or is that what we're talking about?
Yep, his face is there. We have some very unique, colorful labels. So we have a few different lines that will come out. No Sadsghetti's on the cover, but you've heard of Hiroshima at all?
Well, yes. One of the two sites where
Nagasaki?
The United States dropped nuclear weapons on Japan in World War II, certainly, yes.
Yep, you've hit it. Home run, that's it.
The label is a depiction of post-nuclear Hiroshima.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's the mushroom cloud in the background, but, Japan is very much front and center, with Mario.
Okay, you have some mock-ups of this. Oh.
Yeah, here.
Oh. That is one emaciated, bald Asian man. Just like the expression of slack-jawed horror that's been evoked here. That is really just about the most depressing thing I've seen all week. And I talked to Craig like an hour ago.
Well, Mario is very passionate, I should say, about evoking memories and feelings from his products. It's not just about the Italian cuisine. It's about the feeling that you get when you eat the cuisine. And his idea for Sadsghettis is to evoke those memories and emotions and pastimes.
I see one here. That's a portrait of, if I'm not mistaken, Joseph Stalin, with a pile of burning books behind him.
Yep, that'd be him.
Okay.
So is the pasta flavored like the Stalinist purges, or is it just an art thing?
Maybe, all right, maybe he's hit on something psychological on this that's going to make it work as a product. Maybe we're thinking about it the wrong way. Perhaps him evoking this sort of sense of past tragedy and human misery by displaying some of our greatest atrocities makes the food taste better. Like, it could be worse. I'm not in Stalinist Russia.
Mm-hmm. Or this one here, it could be worse, but I'm not Tonya Harding.
Poor Tonya Harding. I mean, that really, what...
She could have had it all.
She could have. It's really such a tragedy what happened to her. That one's gonna sell. Like, that label can sell. God. Looking at it. I mean, because there is something kind of
I'm
devastating.
I'm sorry, I can't do this. I just step outside for a moment. I'm sorry.
God. Poor, you know...
This is the raw energy that Mario is looking for. I mean, there is nothing like a national or worldly tragedy that brings families together to eat SpaghettiOs.
No, you're right. And as I'm looking at this one of Pol Pot and the Killing Fields, I'm actually kind of hungry. If I'm being totally honest, I need something that's gonna raise the dopamine levels in my brain so that I don't just leap out the conference room window and fall to my death. He's really struck gold here.
And I think it's truly going to hit its audience, especially not just the hoarders, that's always a given with us, but
doomsday preppers.
Yes, the preppers. The ones who have the bug out bags. It's just going to be stuffed with Sadsghettis. They're going to run out to their cabins and they're going to live on it, whether or not there's going to be an apocalypse.
And no matter how bad it gets, they'll still be able to look at the imagery and think, well, at least it's not that. I've still got my Sadsghettis.
Oh, no.
Should we,
No. It's really best to just let him go when this happens. I mean, it could be 20, 30 minutes. He really, really loved Tonya Harding. One of our biggest, most important clients in recent years, obviously, fallen on some hard times, and I'm trying to think of ways. Clearly, I'm talking about the tobacco industry.
God damn their lack of success lately. God damn that. The stigma attached. In moderation, it is fine.
Yeah, I know. It's just shocking to me that, we've allowed a few bad apples who couldn't control their intake to use a product
It's all about portion control, Conrad.
Exactly.
I have, maybe me and the family will have one meal a week that's tobacco. That's it. We're not eating it every day.
I think you are actually not using the product as intended.
No, we are.
You're just buying a pouch of tobacco and like, how do you prepare that?
Put it on a plate and eat it.
Right. Remind me not to have dinner at your house. But that aside, we need to find a way to successfully sell tobacco products in a post-cancer scare environment, because I don't think there's any hope of us turning this around at this point. It's all going to be about discovering emerging markets. And so I've been thinking, maybe the thing to do is a direct mail campaign specifically targeting at people with terminal illnesses.
You know what's the least they could do? I mean, let's face it, people getting cancer is what hurt the tobacco industry.
Exactly.
So the least they could do is help them out.
Bail out Big Tobacco. You put them in this spot. Why not? People dying of terminal illnesses is the very, very reason that they suffer today. And you're taking the tobacco right out of their mouths, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking, maybe the approach to this is just, you're dying anyway, fuck it. Like, this product is bad for you, but there's no point in concerning yourself with that now. You've got months to live. Light on up. Enjoy the smooth, relaxing sensation of a cigarette.
Huh.
I think a lot of that may already be happening. When your inevitable death is coming towards you, you kind of just say, fuck it, and keep doing the thing you've been doing for years.
Who markets there? I mean, most companies see them, not to put too fine a point on it, a dead-end market. Because there isn't that long-term financial viability there, because they won't be around in 6 months' time. But they don't realise that just means you can pack a lot more product in, and people always be dying. Cancer ain't going away anytime soon. We may as well turn their victims into customers.
Exactly.
Well, that's my point here. I think we have an expanding market, not on the people who are dying from overusage of, smoking, but the ones who are dying from completely unrelated.
Oh, absolutely. We shouldn't be limiting this to, throat and lung cancer patients that were affected by smoking. Now, those people, I suspect, by and large, they continue to smoke anyway. But I'm thinking just your general leukemia patients, your colon cancers, your pancreatic cancers, your lymph cancers. I mean, anything that goes to the nervous system, that's almost going to be a guaranteed death in a few months. And we could just say, hey, you can't take it with you. Buy more cigarettes.
And not just cigarettes. I'm thinking of all the other things people don't dabble in because they're worried about their long-term health. Juggling knives. We could sell juggling knives to these kids, at least until they've still got the upper body strength.
Yeah, maybe this is an opportunity for us to unload some of our Bret Michaels products.
Oh, the Jelly Secrets and Jam Demands. Yeah, that's...
Not just those, but the tanning beds.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hell, he's got a line of cigarettes. Those televisions that gave all those kids those lumps in their heads. Like, a surprising amount of Bret Michaels' product pitches lead to some form of cancer. So, really, I'm kicking myself for not thinking, why not sell to those people who have nothing to fear from Bret Michaels?
Now that I think about it, I've been trying to come up with a good project for retirement community developer Del Webb. And this might be perfect. Because what they could do is build a community with housing that's really short-term housing. Not hospice necessarily.
No one likes that word.
No one likes that. But one of the great advantages of knowing that the people who live in your community aren't going to be around a whole lot longer is that you're not as limited by location. So you'd be able to build and sell homes right next to Superfund sites, toxic waste dumps, power generation stations, because what's the worst that's going to happen?
There are a number of areas in Boston that have a high concentration of wolves, and we just can't get people to move into those houses due to the wolf attacks that might be related to the amount of wolves that live there.
But if we tear it down and turn it into a community specifically aimed at people who are not going to live another 6 months, the turnover rate could be fantastic. We can charge a tremendous amount for rent while still, with the margin of how much the property's actually going to cost us.
Exactly, and keeping those wolves fed on the dead and the dying stops them from attacking those with a future.
This is... we're really just coming up roses no matter how you slice this. The potential for tapping into the nearly dead as a financial vehicle. Well, and then not to mention all of the... we can approach it from take the pain of probate out of your children's lives. You're not going to be around to enjoy it. Spend it all now. You're gonna die. Why waste your money on medical procedures that might extend your life only another week or two when you could enjoy the weeks you have left?
God, we have no medical contracts anymore after Dr. Nightscream did that thing with that knife. So honestly, anything that sticks it to the health industry, I'm all for. Let's rob them blind.
Those fucking bastards. You know, it's test all the time with them.
Because they're so intent on their standards and mortality rates.
It's just sad. And we all know.
Clean the needle first. Never mind the amount of money we save on Lysol wipes.
And where do most people wind up getting sick anyway? Hospitals.
Dirty old hospitals full of disease.
Now, screw the health industry. I'm all about the death industry. That's where the real money's gonna be. FistShark Marketing is Jim Sterling, Conrad Zimmerman, and Caitlin Cook. Theme music by Ben Rama. Segue music by Alizar Chan. Our editor is Nick Malone. Get more episodes and learn how to help support the show at FistShark.com. Follow us on Twitter at FistShark for more of our exploits. Complaints can be forwarded via email to fistsharkmarketing@aol.com. And remember, spin is a noun. Goodbye.